For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in on your favorite podcast app. Lots to talk about again in our 30 minutes of time-wasting fun session. I appreciate your attention today. And here's the deal, right, is that when you're listening to this, I really do truly hope that you get nothing accomplished while you're listening. I hope you're that into this show that you forget if you're at school, you're at work, I don't know where the hell you're listening to this. Maybe you're at home just pissing the day away. I want you to have a lazy day. I think that we all really, sometimes you have that guilt, I should be doing this. No, don't have the guilt that you should be doing this, you should be doing that. It's okay to take some time for yourself. I'll tell you more about that just a little bit. And also too, here's the deal. As you get older, do you have higher expectations for what a romantic partner would be? What I mean by that is, maybe earlier when you were younger, it was kind of like, well, this person, they can't smoke, they can't do this, they can't have this, they can't do that. And then you realize, you know what, it's not going to work. I'll just take what I can get, right? As you get older, do you just sort of let some of those go? Or does it become worse as you get older? Now you've lived so much life, you've experienced so much that, oh no, they have to meet this criteria or else they don't stand a chance with me. I'll explain more coming up in a bit. And then I've got another parenting rant. It's the parents who want to be friends with their kids. I just can't. I can't. It all starts right after this.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. I think that a lot of people enjoy eating out, right? I mean, if you like to cook, sure, that's your thing, okay, fine. But there's nothing like going out and being served, right? Having somebody bring the stuff to you, having somebody else make the food, and you can just sit there and sip your wine or your drink or whatever it is. I mean, or have it delivered, right? I guess it works either way nowadays. And so we did that at my house the other day. We just had a crummy weather a few days in a row. And what we decided now is that on a bad weather day, provided there's nothing, scheduled or, whatever, is that it's going to be a lounge around, do nothing day. Because as an entrepreneur, and let me talk to the entrepreneurs in this one, you appreciate having an 18-hour day, 16-hour day with, no breaks, trying to just get everything, trying to make that money, right? And so once you're comfortable, if you know what I mean, it's okay to tell yourself, you know what, I'm going to take a couple months and just coast along, right? And so, with the radio show done, and I'm now telling myself that it's okay after 15 years of hosting the radio show, 18 years almost of writing newspaper columns, this podcast for, almost 6 years now. Books, best-selling books, promoting books, everything. Like, it's just okay to have a do-nothing day. And so that's what we do. So now, if there's nothing scheduled for the day and there's nothing happening, and whether it's summer and it's cloudy and rainy, or if it's freezing cold and snowing, whatever, you wake up, if there's nothing, we're ordering out today. We're not cooking. We're just, and again, you live with the fitness model, we don't have junk food really around the house, right? So it's a treat to get that kind of agreement. But honestly, what we've done is we've just sort of looked at things now and said, yeah, you know what? We're just going to take it easy. And so that I'm allowing myself to do that now. And again, so going back to that whole entrepreneur thing, when we were doing travel programming in Mexico, I'm actually laughing because we had my birthday in Puerto Vallarta, and the tourism board, they planned the schedule, they planned the day, and they said, you know what, it's your birthday. We're going to take a 3-hour break in the afternoon. So you can go to the pool, you can, have a nap, you can drink, do whatever, just take a break. We don't want to plus they had me up at 6 a.m. going golfing, and I don't golf. So, it was, but I was bored as hell. Like, honestly, I was just like, how long is this 3 hours? This is taking really, we're only 10 minutes into it? Oh, geez. But now I'm finally appreciating it and saying to myself, it's okay to do nothing today. And that's all right. Yeah, no, I was anxious. I was down by the pool, and then I was getting up, I was walking, I was going to the room, I was going and doing all these things because I just couldn't accept having 3 hours to myself. But now, and it's not even because of the lockdown, I think that people are actually having the opposite effect. They're actually sort of sick of, lounging around or being around the house and doing nothing. For me, I'm just now starting to get that opportunity to do it, so I'm going to take advantage of it. And I remember years ago I said that I wanted to retire when I turned 40. I'm still not 40, but everybody had said to me, you're going to be so bored, you're not going to retire, you're going to keep writing, you're going to keep doing what you do just because you love it, right? So you're just going to be bored. Like, you're always doing something, right? You're always working on a project or always coming up with something. I am now officially at that point where I'm saying, I think I want to take a few months to just do sweet F all. Yeah. And that's like the first time in my life. You're talking to, or you're listening to a person who has basically worked since he was 13. Since I was out at the lake as a teenager, got a job at the little store that was out there. I was making, I don't know, it was $5 an hour, I think it was. And then as a teenager, I was working at the golf course out at the lake for 3 summers in a row. I was working. That first summer when I was 13, I made $800. And that's a pretty big frickin' deal. When you think about it, just working over the summer for a 13-year-old, that's a commitment. That's a job. That's having a shift. That's going there, being on time, And then I worked at the golf course for 3 summers. And then I worked at Red Lobster when I was 17 and 18. And then I was working retail, in my 20s, especially when I was in college trying to pay for school. And so now that I'm, late 30s, yeah, there's something saying to me, you can take it easy. And so that's how we're doing this. When it's a gloomy, rainy day in the summer, or if it's going to be, cold and blizzarding or whatever in the winter, you wake up, if there's nothing on the calendar that, we don't have to go out and do something, whatever it is, it's a lazy day. That means it's going to be 4 hours in the bathtub watching a movie or listening to music and having a nap in the afternoon, ordering greasy food, ordering greasy ass. Ordering greasy food, watching a movie, passing out. That's how we're going to do it. Yeah. And I listen to a lot of people who are complaining about gaining weight during lockdown and, putting on the pounds and all my body and whatever. We lost weight around that because, remember though that I wasn't off work doing radio, newspaper, all that's all stuff that we continued to do, right? We didn't get shut down because you're broadcasting, whatever it is, we're still working. So for me, I didn't have that opportunity to just do days and days or weeks and weeks at a time of being around the house. So I wasn't endlessly eating. That's not what I was doing. So we lost weight. I lost 1 pant size, so 2 inches around the waist. I lost, like my pants don't fit me now when I finally get dressed and go out. And so, yeah, because basically what I was finding was I'm not hungry for breakfast. I'm not hungry for lunch. I might eat at around 4 or 5 in the afternoon, and then that's about it. So whether you call that a late lunch, early, I don't know. It was a meal, basically. And that was really all I would have in the day. Because that's, my body wasn't saying, oh, you need to eat again. We had this discussion with somebody on the radio. Who was it? Oh, when we were doing the Corona special, Bob Harper from The Biggest Loser. And I asked him, are you one of those people who it's got to be 3 meals a day? Do you eat only when you're hungry? What's the right answer, I guess, if there is one? And I think that he said something to the effect of you eat when you're hungry. Like, your body will tell you when it's time to eat. And so that's basically what we've done. And so now, yeah, with these lounge days that I was talking about, is that I've enjoyed it. We had a couple of days of just bad weather earlier in the week. And yeah, we wake up, you see that it's like gloomy and, gray out there, and I had nothing to do. It wasn't a work day, And I went down to the bathtub and I put on Mrs. Doubtfire while I was in the tub. We ordered food while I was in the tub. And, that's the countdown clock, because you see when your food is getting close to arriving. And I did some emails, watched a movie, I soakified, and then when the food was about 5 minutes away, I put on the bathrobe and went to the living room, and we had greasy pizza and just chilled out, and then had a nap after that. It was a useless day, but you know what? It felt so good. It really, really did. So I know it seems like I'm living on the edge all of a sudden, and a lot of you guys are probably like, yeah, buddy, that's called, a weekend. Oh yeah, that's called, being laid off of work. Hey, no, I get that it's boring as hell, if you're out of work or if you're home all day. As an entrepreneur, I worked from home for, oh my God, probably almost 6 years at home. And when you're a creative person and your job is, either talking or writing, and you need that inspiration, that motivation from other people, trust me, those days are long. I get it. And the trick is keeping yourself busy. But again, as an entrepreneur, that's something where you just exhaust yourself doing it. So anyway, send me an email. Tell me if you understand this, appreciate it, can relate to it. live@jbonair.com.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. I like chiming in on relationships on this show and also parenting, right? These are, I don't know, I don't have any kids, but I'm a good observer, and I like watching people and seeing how they don't parent their kids, what it looks like. But when it comes to relationships, I'm fascinated with the whole dating app thing. And so let me just go back to this in case you've missed it previously. I've never been on a dating app before because it would probably ruin my marriage, but also I'm in the media in my hometown, so I don't know. There's just sort of a code where it's like, people know who I am. I don't go and put myself out on there. There are people who do, though. It's just not for me, and my personal life is fairly private. And so, because I've never been on a dating app or website, it's a dating app now. My cousin had come to me. This was probably a few years ago now. She came to me at a family get together, and she's like, my friend was chatting with you on I had never heard of the website, but whatever, dating.com or whatever, I don't know. And I was kind of like, yeah, no, that's not, I don't know what you're talking about, because I'd never heard of it. And so she's like, yeah, he was telling me about this guy that he was chatting with, and then sent me the page or whatever, and it was you. And I was like, yeah, no, that wasn't me. Now, this is something I don't understand, too. One, why would you do that if you're planning on meeting somebody, getting together with them in the first place? That's an awkward... Because it's putting yourself in that awkward situation that you now have to explain to the person why you did it. So you're actually just making it worse for yourself. Hence the show Catfish, right? And so I was like, yeah, no, I don't know why. And now, again, I can also appreciate a handsome guy, right? A hot man. I am not one of them, and I'm not even saying that I've got low self-esteem. I just would say there are far more, perfect people out there, and perfect, quote unquote perfect, than myself, and I fully acknowledge that. And that's actually why I got into newspapers and radio, was because I didn't want you to be looking at me and distracted with looks, and I had crooked teeth at the time, and I just didn't want. So that was why. It's like, I want you to appreciate my personality, my sense of humor, my writing style, my conversation style, what have you. So, for me, I've never been hung up on looks. Now, my husband, who's a fitness model, absolutely. I mean, his hair is half of his personality, 3/4 of his personality. So it takes me about maybe 5 minutes to get ready when we go out, right? I mean, that's me just like getting dressed and running my fingers through my hair to, not make sure it's not messed up. That's the extent of how I get ready. I could give two shits what I look like at the store. Like, again, I'm not there to impress people. I'm not, and so. Back in the day when I was single, we had chat rooms, which was sort of the social media at the time, in a roundabout way. And that's how people would connect. Or I guess you'd also go to a bar. That was actually the big thing, right? You'd wait for the weekend so that you can go to the club, and that's where you over cologne, over perfume, you over hair gel or whatever it was for guys. And then you'd go and you'd scope out the scene, you'd buy somebody drinks, you'd flirt, and, I'd never gone home with anybody. I was always a prude that way. I've never done the hookup thing. So, obviously things have changed now. I hear that bars are closing, because it's just different. Like the people would go to be, the singles would go and try to, because now you just have apps, right? You meet up and you go and you connect with people that way. You don't have to wait for a bar or anything like that, right? It's cheaper just to, hook up in a park somewhere. I don't know if that's how people do it, but anyway. So I'm fascinated by the whole dating app thing. And we were talking, one of our colleagues he's not here right now, but he's 30. Is he 35? Mid-30s, let's say. Not that much younger than me. And so we grew up at the time where, you would do instant messaging. Remember those AOL chat rooms? And then in our case, I think it was gay.com, you'd have chat rooms for your city or whatever it was. And there was that anticipation for the next message, right? Especially AOL had that sound, right? When you'd get the new message. But you would sit there and you would just anticipate, right? You'd just be waiting for what the person would say because this was all new, right? You had patience for it. Now, I would have no tolerance, I guess patience is the right word as well, to be messaging back and forth with somebody. I just remember being in chat rooms. And back then, trust me, I was desperate to be in a relationship. Like, I was just wanting somebody to love me. I was just not a happy person. And so I was very aggressive where it's like, let's talk on the phone. Because you didn't really have video chatting back. Right? Again, there was no Facebook. We didn't have things like that. So I would be very quick to go and say, like, call me. This is my number. Like, let's talk on the phone. And it turned people off. They just thought that was too forward, too upfront. Think about it now, though, right? I mean, you're getting together and you're hooking up and you're screwing somebody, within 10 minutes of saying hi. You don't even know their name, right? Like, so and I'm a prude, but people didn't like that, and so that would be my determining factor. One of the many criteria that I would have would be, like we've got to. I'm not messaging you in the morning, waiting 3 hours for a reply, and I just mean because we're getting to know each other at the time. Like I would lose interest very fast. Different if you're married and you're in a relationship and you're going to be talking tonight when he comes home anyway. Like I'm not saying that I'm needy and I need to have, messages all day from my guy, because I don't. And if anything, I'd actually probably tell him off if I was being bombarded by messages. What I'm saying is getting to know a person. Like, I want to cut to the chase. I don't want to drag this out for a week of messages just to find out what shows you like and what food you like. Because we can have a conversation and get through this stuff. So what I mean by that is I want this to move along quickly. I want to get to know you really, really fast, really well in a short period of time. Not saying that we're moving in, 2 weeks after meeting. I just mean that, like, I don't have the patience to... If we can talk and I can get to know you in 2 hours rather than 2 weeks of slowly messaging back and forth, I'm going to pick talking and getting to know it. And if you're not down for that, be gone. Like, that's just the thing. So it's kind of funny because I look back at what my criteria would have been, or my deal breakers would have been back in the day. And I didn't really have very many, believe it or not. Like, you'd think that as a young, I guess I would have been about 19 or 20. No, oh yeah, I guess about 19 or 20 years old, doing the work in the chat rooms. Honestly, that was the big, when you were that desperate and single, chat rooms were the way to go. Now it's social media. And there's so many people that will message me because I don't have, relationship status and all this stuff on my Facebook page, because it's mind your own fucking business. What does it matter? Like, if you want to be a friend, then be a friend, quote unquote friend on Facebook. But it's so weird that people will say hi and then 2 seconds later, are you single? Like, okay, that's desperation. Knock it off. And even if I were single, I'd be like, slow down, buddy. Anyway, so the criteria would have been, let's have a phone call. Second would have been a smoker. My parents smoked when we were growing up, and I absolutely hated it, and I would basically like barricade my door. I'd have a towel at my door so that it couldn't come under and into my room. It really, really bothered me. So a smoker was also a deal breaker, and, not married, I guess, was probably a big deal. Now, maybe not. But yeah, like I really wasn't, I guess I'll use the word picky. I wasn't really that picky growing up. Now, this is the funny thing, as I'm 38, going 39 pretty soon. Now that I've lived, like I said, married a model, so I guess maybe I've got a higher expectation of things. But I look at the younger generation, this is where I'm going to get hate mail, because I'm just not attracted to the younger generation, the younger demographic, because so my coworker that we were just talking about, or that I was talking about, he's on those apps and things, and I'm scrolling through and I'm looking at the people that he's chatting with or matching or whatever. Basically, I'm scoping out the scene in our city here, and I noticed that guys just look very different than when I was in my 20s. I feel now, this is opinion, I'm allowed to have an opinion. I feel that guys are very feminine now. They're like, it's all about like perfect eyebrows, skinny jeans, almost dressing, yeah, feminine would be the word that I would use. And that's just not appealing to me. You didn't have so many gay guys having, nose piercings and duck lips. Nobody had duck lips back then. And so just when I was scrolling, I was like, I don't find any of these people attractive. Now, again, I realize there's personality behind it and things like that, but I don't think that I would like your personality though, because it's not even about looking and going, he's ugly, he's hot, he's ugly, he's hot. I get a sense of your personality by the way you're posing like Kardashian lips, and that's to me not masculine at all, and as cliche. Now again, this is where I'm going to get letters by this whole judging a book by its cover, blah blah blah. But at the same time, that's kind of what these apps are designed for as well, is sort of you're judging people based on one look, and you're swiping. You look at them for 2 seconds and you're judging them. So that's really what we've come to. That's kind of how this whole thing works now. Whereas again, back in the day, right, you didn't have the instant messaging, you didn't have the variety of people. I think that's also why relationships just go south so quickly nowadays, is that somebody new comes around and boom, you're somebody better, somebody hotter, somebody who has more shirtless pictures on their page. Like it's very bizarre. And so again, just looking at these people, I'm kind of like, he's too pretty. He looks like a girl. Like that's just not me. And again, I realize that there's people who are attracted to that. I'm not knocking those people. I'm just saying for me, like I want a manly man. I mean, that's just what I'm attracted to. And you've always heard these people say, like, if I wanted to be with a girl, I'd be with the girl. I don't say that, but it's just not my cup of tea. Yeah. So for anybody who, I've always heard that as you get older, you kind of find younger people more attractive, right? And no, that is not me. Honestly, when I see, 19, 20, 21, even mid-20s, I look at that and go, we are just in two different worlds. That is not for me. And if that's what that generation is, appeals and is attracted to and whatever, have at it. I'm in a different league, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, like that I'm better than it. I just mean I'm in a different zone then, maybe is the better word, because it's not. Yeah, no, it's not for me. And I would just have a whole bunch of new criteria now. Like, I would be very picky at this point. And I don't know if that just is an age thing, or once you've come, if I did come out of the relationship and, have to be on the prowl again, but I don't know. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me how offended you are by that story. Live at jbonair.com, live at jbonair.com.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. You know that I always like talking about relationships and parenting. I just do. I don't know. I don't have kids of my own. I really can't stand kids, but I do appreciate observing. I like taking that step back and watching what parents do, how they do it, what they don't do. Part of the reason why I wrote my book years ago, Put Down Your Damn Phone Already, was because I remember I went to a nephew's, soccer game or whatever it was, soccer practice, I think it was. Anyway, so the point is that the parents were just not even paying attention. And you see that now a lot, right? Where the kids are having to jump and try to get mom and dad's attention. I was always putting on a show when I would have like bubble baths. I would like dump water on my head, so I'd tell a story and then, dump the pail of water or something on me, or I would, put bubbles all over my head and face, and my mom would be sitting there and, just kind of like laughing. So, I was putting on a show. And I mean, I was like 4 or 5 years old, but it wasn't like I was being encouraged like, oh, good job, or, oh, that's funny. She was just, the fact that she was giving her attention was good enough, right? And so now parenting has come a long way because I think parents are trying to be friends with their kids. You've seen the parents, and maybe you're one of them, where, they're calling your son buddy, or your daughter, princess. What's wrong, princess? I feel this is where we've got that entitled generation, because just that word princess has been now used in everyday language and terminology to reference that it's kind of leading kids to have that sense of entitlement. And it's funny to me because I was just scrolling on Facebook a couple of minutes ago. This is why it came about. Somebody posts a picture of their daughter riding a bike. Now, the bike has training wheels and everything. And for some reason, the parent felt the need to post this. And then, of course, there's all these congratulatory messages. Awesome job. Oh, she did it. Well, first off, the kid isn't even young enough to be on Facebook to read these. So you're like, I don't understand. You're like encouraging the mom. Like, oh, your kid is brilliant. It's training wheel. You got to pedal. Like, how? I don't. Awesome job. Way to go. Oh, she's amazing. She's amazing. It's training wheels, and she's barely like I can appreciate encouraging people, and I'm not saying to crush her dreams and say, well, the other kids next door are riding better, they're riding faster. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm just kind of saying like just the praise for things. And again, we would make things in school. My brothers and I would make things in school. Our mom was a teacher at the elementary school, so a little bit tough, but we'd come home with things. Hey, that's really nice. Put it on the fridge, and that's that. We didn't need to be patted on the head for the next 3 hours or every time we walk by the fridge to have it pointed out or anything. Like, I don't know. So I feel like parents, aside from giving all their attention to their cell phones, are just like kissing their kids' asses. And it's so, I think, now again, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor, I'm an observer, right? But I look at that and go, I think that that's unhealthy. It's one thing to say, hey, good job, way to go. You know what? You didn't get it this time, but you'll get it next time. Keep trying. Yes, do those kinds of things. But when you're trying to be friends with your kid, when you're peers with your own child, it's a little bit strange to me. But I don't know, because I just wonder, though, as a kid, if you're constantly hearing that, you're constantly, being called, princess, buddy, hey, champ, hey, whatever. We didn't have nicknames. I don't know. It's just strange. So I feel like that's where these kids are getting that sense of entitlement from, where it's like, everything should be and I wrote a newspaper column about this years. It was called, what was it called? Who's calling the shots at home, or who's running the show, or whatever. Because that's where, I've seen this. You know what? I'm going to call it out. I'm going to say, my brother used to be one of those people who we'd be at a restaurant. The two of us would be at a restaurant. This was before he had kids. And you'd have the obnoxious kids that were screaming at the table beside us, or they'd go running by, and he'd be like, where are the parents? Why isn't this kid under control? And I'm not kidding you. Several years later, when he started to have kids with his wife, he was that dad. And so, the kids who aren't listening at the table, and he's like, you're going to knock over your drink. And you can almost hear the countdown. In 5, 4, 3, 2, spill. And I just kind of thought, wow. So everything that you bitched about when we were observers watching from the sidelines and going, oh my God, those parents must be so embarrassed. Oh my God, I'd hate to be those people. But you're one of them now, big guy. And so I wonder, though, how that happens, right? So these are all the things that you've identified that you don't want your kid doing when you have kids someday. Well, now the tables have turned and it's happening. So where did you go wrong? Because you went wrong somewhere. It's no different than if my dog is nuts, right? And barks all the time, whatever. That's on me to train the dog. So then you absolutely blame me. And same thing with your kid. right? If your kid is obnoxious and just a little fucker in public, well, then that's on you. Control your kid. So send me an email. See, I know that parents are just going to tear me to shreds when they hear this, because I'm probably commenting on something you do. And so that's going to, fire you up, and you're going to email me and you're going to tell me off. live@jbonair.com is the email address. live@jbonair.com.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter @The Scribble Show and @thescribbleshow.com.
Why is the last segment always the controversial one when I'm supposed to give you the email address and remind you to email me? Because I'm going to hear from the parents. That's what always happens. I criticize parents. I call out the obnoxious things that you do, and then you're like, well, you're not a parent. You have no right, blah, blah, blah. You know what? Suck it. But email me, live@jbonair.com. I'm just joking. I'm Jeremy Bradley. I'll talk to you next week on The Scribble. Bye-bye for now.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter @thescribbleshow. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat,